Good afternoon, Rivermont peeps. This is Dr. Moon. This may be one of the last videos I do until summer break, and I have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to talk about how building happiness is like a house. So it's kind of a metaphor. I'm going to talk about taking in the good, and what that means, what that looks like, and how do we do that. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about summer safety type of stuff now that you guys are finishing up the school year. And hopefully we will see you guys in the fall. The first topic that I want to talk about is building happiness. The last video I discussed like a growth mindset, how do we develop that? And this is in line with kind of the same thing. The main theme through all of the teachings that we do is that your brain can change. You can change your brain. You can change your mind. You can change your thoughts. You are absolutely capable of changing those things and for the better. So it's like a muscle. You just have to keep working at it. You have to keep making it stronger. If you stop using some of these skills that we teach you, then obviously the muscle atrophies or gets smaller and it loses its strength. So if that helps some of you guys that relate to athletes and sports, it is just the same thing. We have to use our brain in a way to build it and make it healthier, make it stronger. All right, so I'm going to switch back to how building happiness can be similar to building a house. So when you think about building a house, you think about wanting it to have a strong foundation, right? So that if there's a storm or strong weather that comes, we want a house that's going to stand and kind of be able to handle it through those tough times. Now, even if we build a really strong house, things can still happen, correct? So we can still do a lot of things to prepare for a strong house, a strong foundation, and things can still happen. So for instance, we in Roanoke had a lot of flooding, and there were a lot of homes that had not had flooding issues in the past, but somehow through time, their basement or their homes got flooded. So they had to deal with that. And that's even after maybe being prepared for flooding. So it's sort of like life as well. We can prepare for things, we can work towards things, and still negative things can come in and throw us off, even if we feel strong or prepared. But it's a matter of how you handle that and what that's going to look like for next time. So those homes that got flooded this time, I'm sure they had to do a lot of work to kind of repair things. And then they had to think about, okay, how can we prevent this from happening again? So then they would take some extra steps to maybe prevent the flooding from happening. So we're always working towards making things better, making things stronger, making things stronger, healthier. So as you look at the foundation for a house, you want it to be solid. And we often look at life kind of in two ways. Are we just surviving life and just kind of making through it, or are we thriving? And obviously, I would hope that most of us are thriving or would be working towards thriving, but a lot of us are just surviving or just making it through, and that's for various reasons. All kinds of circumstances put us in a place that we just feel like we're just trying to make it through the best we can. The things we're going to talk about today is one of the main things I'm going to talk about is taking in the good, and how can we go from feeling like we're just surviving every day to feeling a little bit more like we're actually thriving and we're doing okay. And that may seem insurmountable, may seem overwhelming, like not even worth trying, because you may feel so, excuse me, at a place that just seems impossible. But again, we're going to talk about ways to do it and try to get you guys to be working towards that. A lot of you have heard of the fight, flight, or freeze. And so when we have situations in our lives And this goes way back to when there were cavemen and there were dinosaurs that were often, trying to go after cavemen, and they had to survive. So a lot of times their nervous system, their body reacted to protect them, to decide, okay, do we run from the dinosaur? Do we just stop and freeze? And so that maybe the dinosaur doesn't notice our movements and will leave us alone? Or do we fight and go towards the dinosaur and start just giving it all we got to overpower the dinosaur? So when we look at humans today, when we talk about flight, that's a lot of times just when you feel like running. We've had students just run from things, and it's like, I just want to get away. Sometimes I feel the same way, and that could look like sleeping. So you're just trying to ignore the problems and not face them. So you're just kind of running from them. And that is flight, if that makes sense. Fight is when you're just maybe attacking the problem or the issue, but maybe not in the best way possible, where it's maybe doing more damage than good. So that might look like if my son or daughter says something to me and I'm upset about it or bothers me in a way, and I start attacking and fighting back and getting just as aggressive, and that's probably not good either. And then there's freeze, where I just stop, I don't engage, I don't talk to them, I may ignore them, but I just kind of stand still and I don't make any kind of decision. I don't go towards the issue and I don't go away from the issue. So sometimes they talk about those three being the main ways we as humans handle scary situations or things that may feel threatening to us. And that could be all kinds of things. And it all depends on our experiences. So, I'll use an example of a dog. So if somebody's had a bad experience with a dog before, they're likely to find any dog somewhere as a threat, whether they're on a leash, they're walking out in the neighborhood, but their senses get heightened anytime they are, around a dog. Now, for instance, I've grown up with dogs, I have dogs, I have not had bad experiences with dogs, so my experience may be different than someone else's. And we always have to keep that in mind, because I'm not going to judge somebody if they're like, gosh, I don't want to pet your dog, because their experience may have been totally different than mine, and I have to respect that. So when we talk about some of those things, it's helpful to realize or have insight into which one am I? Do I tend to flee situations? Do I tend to fight? Or do I tend to just stop, shut down, and not engage at all? So we want to look at how to turn some of these kind of negative ways that we've dealt with fear or things that heightened our, we have kind of negative experiences with, and how can we change that to be more positive? One of the ways to do that is what's called taking in the good, or TIG. And I'm going to show you a little bit of PowerPoint about it. But TIG, taking in the good, here's my handy dandy whiteboard. So how do we do that? What does taking in the good look like? How do we do that? And how can we do more of it? So I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. And I'm going to show a little bit of a PowerPoint that explains it. And then I'm going to give you an example. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay. So as you can see on this screen, all right, let's see. Where did it go? Let's see. I don't know why it's just showing a blank page. Sorry guys, hold on. Hmm. All right, let me try that again. See, look, I'm learning too. I'm hoping this will work. Hmm. All right, so while this is kind of loading, all right, let's see if it will stay on this page. See if you guys can hear me. So taking in the good is basically having a positive experience, but doing more with it than just experiencing it. So sometimes, again, we may be drinking some hot cocoa and I'm checking email or I'm doing something else and I'm not really experiencing the hot cocoa fully to the full extent. And that we need to work on really absorbing these positive experiences more so that they really tie into our bodies, they tie into our brain, and we remember these good experiences. So that's kind of a general idea of what taking in the good is. So this talks about a little bit, goes into a little something more in depth, but we're going to look at how to take in the good. So this says, look for positive facts and let them become positive experiences. So for example, you want to use all your senses, and we've covered this before in our therapy sessions where we talk about all the 5 senses and using all of them and even a 6th sense, but really absorbing these good experiences using all the senses, right? Your taste, your smell, your sight, the sound, and we want to take those positive experiences and really feel it in our body, in our emotions, hold on to it for a little bit. Don't just let it pass quickly, and really soak it in so that we remember this feeling. So I'm going to give the example. We did this one time in our therapy sessions where we had hot cocoa. We talked about what having hot cocoa represents. So some people talked about, winter, it's cozy, it's chocolate, it might be snowing outside, the warmth of the cup. We talk about the smell and the steam of the hot cocoa coming, how it feels warm on our tongue and when it goes down in our throat and warms our belly, and how there's just a general calming sense to maybe experiencing hot cocoa. But a lot of times we don't really use all those senses when we're drinking something like hot cocoa. And we need to be more mindful of those experiences so that that's what we draw on more rather than negative experiences, if that makes sense. We've talked about, in the past, kind of some negative experiences that stress can do to our bodies and to our minds. And we're trying to now do the opposite, right? So we know when we're stressed, our heart rate goes up, we might be sweating, we might have a stomach ache, we might get a headache, there might be all these kinds of things. So now, instead of really holding on to the negative experiences we have with stress, we're going to try to override those as much as we can so that we're having more intense positive experiences and taking in the good, so that that's our base, that that's our foundation rather than negative. I hope that makes sense. So we're going to build this taking in the good as much as possible. But again, we have to practice, we have to be mindful, and we have to keep doing it over and over, just like any muscle, and build on it. So this talks about certain kinds of good to take in. So it could be small pleasures of ordinary day or ordinary life. Like I use example, most of you guys are too young, probably certainly to have coffee, but have hot cocoa, or you have a favorite ice cream at night. It could be just sitting and really enjoying that ice cream and not scarfing it down as fast as we can. tasting it in our mouth and sitting back and just relaxing, seeing who you're enjoying that with, taking it all in and remembering that this is a moment of just really pure enjoyment. It could be at times feeling grateful. I know we've talked about this, and recognizing the other good things in our life that, you know, at times things could certainly be worse, but what can we focus on regarding the good things that are in our lives, whether that's people you care about and support you. That could be friends. It could be, okay, it's summertime. Let's really enjoy this summer break so that we can get ready for next fall. And it could feel like you worked hard this school year and you're glad it's over, and it's just really enjoying that moment of feeling accomplished. All right, so, and again, I just talked about why it's important to take in the good. So it's really kind of building our solid foundation of our house, and that more positive experiences are going to override these negative ones. But we have to feel these positive ones strongly in order to do that, because our negative, a lot of our mind goes to negative, and that ends up being our foundation. And whatever we do from that foundation is going to affect everything else, our thoughts, our moods, how we behave, how we react to somebody, how we handle, negativity, crisis, school, friendships. So we really want to try to build a positive foundation. So those are just some of my examples. And again, it takes practice, and you start small, right? You're just not going to develop this overnight. Okay, so this is another thing that might be helpful while you're trying to build kind of more of a happiness base. And it goes through 14 days, and there's a goal, and then kind of what that goal is and whether you complete it or not. So for example, I'm going to read through these. So the first one is just doing an act of kindness, which would be saying hello to a neighbor or a coworker or a friend or somebody outside walking their dog. It could be saying hello to your mom or your grandmother when they wake up in the morning, instead of kind of grunting or number 2 is say thank you to someone who has helped you in some way. 3 is an act of good health, which means maybe eating something healthy or adding something healthy, whether it's I've been trying to eat more apples through the day, but it could be something small, but doing something that feels healthy with food. Sound mind, taking a walk or exploring a new interesting place. I had asked you guys to do this in the last video when I asked you to try something new and how that develops a growth mindset. So that's kind of along the same idea. Offer to help someone that needs help, carrying in groceries, cutting somebody's grass if you're old enough to do that, watching a younger child if that would be helpful, helping clean up if you've made a mess, and then an act of gratitude, which would be making a list of 5 things that you feel lucky about right now. Having a roof over your head, having food, having family, having a pet. It could be all kinds. It could be small things. Being able to walk, being able to, do math problems. It could be anything that you could be grateful for. That it's summertime, that you made it through the school year. It could be anything. All right. So the other ones include like doing something again healthy with food, eating a meal that's uninterrupted. Oftentimes we're getting up. I'm horrible about that. I get up all the time, but just fully being in the moment while you're enjoying a meal. And you can enlist your family in this. Get your parents to do this. Get your grandmother, get your uncle, get your sibling to do it. See who can do this. Compliment somebody, call a family member to ask how they're doing. You treat yourself to something fun. Consider volunteering. I know right now it's kind of a little bit hard because we're supposed to be social distancing, but that could be volunteering to mow your neighbor's grass or to take the trash out for somebody or to walk their dog. It could be all kinds of things. And again, practicing things you're thankful for, deep breathing, donating food or resources if you have the ability to do that. Maybe beginning an exercise routine, listening to soothing music, and again, offering help to someone and also appreciating if somebody, oh, I'm sorry, these are my dogs. Anyway, so these are just ideas to get you kind of on the path of doing some things that might be helpful. Okay, so we talked about things. I went through that pretty fast. Hopefully you can, if you're really interested in it, you can go back and look at it. And I can always send a copy to you if you'd like. You can hear my dogs. So for instance, I'll use my example. So today I sat outside. This is the first day in all of these 3 months that I've decided to do something outside as far as work related in a different environment. I'm trying to switch it up some. I'm trying to be outside, enjoy the fresh air, and enjoy that instead of feeling like I have to be inside, I have to get this done. And always when I'm trying to do these therapeutic type discussions with you, I really embrace them as much as I can. So I'm not just throwing this out there, having expectations of you guys to do them without me knowing what that feels like and trying to do them myself. Okay, so again, you can start out small. You want to look for positive experiences. You want to feel that feeling, hold on to it 10, 20, 30 seconds. Try to remember it so that it is safely in your brain and easily accessible. And we're going to start doing this to build that solid foundation of happiness and healthy. And we're going to go from there. So you know this is not the last time that you're going to have a group session with Dr. Moon. And I hope that we'll be face-to-face in the fall, which I certainly enjoy much more and feel like I'm able to help you much more in that kind of sense. I have missed you. I have worried about all of you in different ways. And so I'm going to end this video with a couple of summer safety stuff. I'm going to add the suicide hotline, a suicide text line, and food source information. Because we are going on summer break, I won't necessarily have the chance to reach out and check on you guys, not for a while. You may appreciate that I won't be checking on you, but I do want to offer resources and the chance for you guys to have numbers that if you are stuck, you have somebody you can call, somebody you can text in a situation. So with the summer safety thing, as I hope most of you know, if you don't know, and I don't know how long this will last, but we're supposed to be wearing masks. Okay, so somebody made this for me, which was really sweet. It's got pineapples on it. It's kind of cute, but we're supposed to be wearing masks, at least at this point. Today's Friday, May 29th, and we're supposed to be wearing these anytime we're inside in a group type situation. And places that we may, there may be people gathering. I don't know whether that means if it's a busy park, grocery store, if you're shopping, those kinds of things. It's to keep us respectful of other people in the sense that, again, we don't know if we have the virus, and a lot of people are not showing symptoms, but they may carry it, and that means that they can still make other people sick. So this is a way to help yourself stay safe in a way and also protect others. And that's a way of respecting others. And it's a form of showing kindness to others, is by doing what we should be doing, at least at this point. All right. So one, if you can, make sure you're wearing masks. Make sure your family members are wearing them if they can and if they're able to, and if you're able to find them. Again, some people are making them. You can get them from CVS. My dad bought some yesterday from CVS. You can use a handkerchief. I know Mrs. West put a video on how to make ones at home that you can make from t-shirts and, like I said, from like bandanas and things. So there's ways to make them without having to go spend money. Summer safety, make sure you are wearing sunscreen, that you don't get overheated if you're riding a bike, if you're outside walking, that you're drinking lots of water. Those are really important, especially on humid days. And let's see, what else? So just making sure you're drinking lots of water, sunscreen, that you're not walking pets like in the middle of the day where they're getting overheated or exhausted. They certainly can get heated very quickly. That means in cars. That's also for kids in cars. Make sure you're not, siblings aren't being left or pets aren't being left in cars when it's hot. And okay, so I'm going to move on to the next thing with the hotline and the text line, and then I'm going to end with the food sources that hopefully will provide places that you can get food if you need them. I don't know how long these places will be providing food, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, just so there's also another number on there if for some reason you need to contact somebody personally for some help. All right, so the hotline, there's a hotline you can call to actually speak with a counselor. It's 24/7, which means available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter if it's Sunday night at midnight. Somebody should pick up that phone and talk to you if you're struggling, okay? So let me write this number down so that everybody can see it and have it. Having to erase. All right. So this number . All right. So this number is, I'll write it down. 1-800-273-8255. All right, so that's 1-800-273-8255. Okay, so that's a phone number that you actually call. Now there's also what's called a crisis text line, which I know that a lot of times people prefer to text than they do call. So this is called the crisis text line, and you are able to, I'm going to write this down, you're going to text the word START, S-T-A-R-T, to the number 741-741. All right, so I'm going to go over that again, okay? So if you don't feel like calling anybody or talking with anybody and you prefer to text somebody, same thing, 24/7, and it is a trained counselor or therapist on the other line. It is somebody trained to help you, okay? So you are going to text the word START, which is S-T-A-R-T, to the number 741-741, okay? Okay. Now, if you're ever in a situation and it is an emergency, young or old, and you are scared or you do not know what to do, you can always call 911. And that's for those young kids that might have a cell phone. Even if you don't have an internet connection, my understanding is that any phone that you have, 911 will respond to it. I could be wrong. You may want to check with your carrier on that, but that is my understanding. Regardless of whether you have internet connection or not, apparently my understanding is, again, 911, that is a number that uh, will answer, regardless of what kind of plan you have or what plan you don't have. If you have a phone and it has power and you can turn it on, you can dial 911. Even if it doesn't have, if you do, you know, like I forgot what the words are, but where you pay for the minutes, you get a card, and you only have a certain amount of minutes. Um, Phones that are even out of that plan and out of minutes, my understanding is if it has power and that phone turns on, it will dial 911. So I also want to make sure all of you guys realize that it's important. Now, obviously, it, you know, we don't want you dialing 911 because you can't get McDonald's or something, but it needs to be an important situation. But I want my students to know that they're there for you, and I want parents to know if their situation, you know, gets to a crisis level. Um, these are numbers you can call for help, resources, and that I want everybody to stay as safe as they possibly can this summer. I want everybody to have a really good break. I hope that you try to do some of the things that I've suggested as far as for your mental health. I know sometimes it's just like, I'm not going to do anything like that. But I do believe that it can make a big difference, especially the sooner you start and the sooner you practice it, the more impact it's going to have. And again, building that foundation, if you just think, that's what I'm doing, that's what this is for. I don't care. I know I'm typically work with middle school down, but it doesn't matter how old you are. I don't care if you say I'm 14, it's too late for me. I ain't got no foundation. My house is in pieces. It's made of paper and straw and just it gets blown all over the place. It's not too late to start. To start to build it, make it stronger, make it healthier, make it happier, and just keep trying. Really, truly, just keep trying. So, with all that said, have a good break. Take lots of deep breaths. Enjoy your time. Don't forget to connect with people and to feel thankful and to take in the good. Okay? And I wish you guys well, and I really hope that I will see you guys soon. Okay? Take care.